Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Throne of Steel based on novel. So let's start. Demon Hunt Squad's Transaction Center. Bright Glimmer of Hope's appearance was extremely low-key. Each of them were clad in a cloak, and Long Houchin did not utilize his authority as the chairman of the union in the least, acting just like any ordinary demon hunt squad, as they stealthily made their way inside. The transaction center was completely filled to the brim, and due to the temple's great gathering, many demon hunt squads had chosen to attend. Most recently, that place was really bustling with people and filled with good things. Long Houchin's crew naturally wouldn't stop at the first floor, and directly headed toward the second. Large crowds were piling up on the way, and suddenly, a youth was seen jumping up and crying out in cheer. Very good, I've finally got my hands on it. This trivial-sounding jump just happened to block the way of Long Houchin's group. The youth's mates, who were also in the midst of excitement, also contributed to blocking the way. Excuse me, please let us by. On Houchin's side, Hanyu's words were deliberately low-sounding, just loud enough for these youths to all be able to hear. When that youth turned his head, he couldn't help but feel startled about noticing Long Houchin's cloaked group. He immediately took out a large sword, which looked to be a pretty okay piece of magic equipment. Although, this assessment was based on the first floor of the Demon Hunt Squad's transaction center. These youngsters looked quite fine, only somewhat young and inexperienced. When seeing this group not only cloaked, but furthermore most of them having their heads lowered, he couldn't help but reveal a look of curiosity. You are demon hunters too. We are the champion newcomer Demon Hunt Squad, number 1 Demon Hunt Squad of soldier grade. At the youth's side, a proud-sounding girl spoke. The youth shot her a glare. What are you showing off about? He then apologetically nodded to Hanyu, and hurriedly moved out of the way with his group. Hearing the title of number 1 soldier grade Demon Hunt Squad, the cloaked members of Bright Glimmer of Hope all couldn't help but raise their heads. Number 1 soldier grade, what a familiar appellation. 10 years ago, that was theirs. Seeing these youngsters, all sorts of feelings were welling up from their hearts. After stopping for a bit, Long Houchin smiled to these young demon hunters, before leading the group to the second floor. The number 1 soldier grade Demon Hunt Squad's youngsters were quite perturbed by this smile. His smiling expression was really refreshing, like a breeze of spring wind, or a ray of sunlight. Its sight seemed to cleanse one's soul. So handsome. The girl who spoke previously couldn't help but blurt out. He looked a bit familiar. Another youngster said. The one at their lead suddenly began shaking, and lost his voice. They are the ones from the Demon Hunt Squad Bright Glimmer of Hope. And the one who just smiled at us was their captain Long Houchin. Didn't he just become the chairman of the union? The announcement regarding the new alliance was already pasted onto the walls of Holy City by this afternoon. Sir Demon Hunters, may I ask what you need? Being able to make it to this floor was ample proof of their statuses, as only titled Demon Hunt Squads were eligible to enter this floor. Long Houchin took out his cloak and smiled to him. Greetings. Can you please help us confirm our contribution point count, and then show us all the equipment of at least epic tier that is available? I'll be bothering you. Also, we will also need a spatial silver crystal. Understood. The elder replied, withdrawing slowly. Don't forsake this old man for being just an employee. From the fluctuations of his spiritual energy, Long Houchin could perceive that his cultivation reached the 8th step. After they became a Demon Hunt Squad of titled grade, they no longer needed to search for items in there. They only needed to look through the catalogue, then choose, which was far more convenient than for the lower grade Demon Hunt Squads. Moreover, any of the transaction center's goods and equipment could be picked with priority given to the titled Demon Hunt Squads. They were even able to make credit transactions for their purchases, although that was within a certain limit obviously. A short time later, the old man brought a tray in front of Houchin. On the tray was a rectangular crystal. 1/3 of a meter long, and 1/6 of a meter wide. It had a clear image displayed on it. From the looks of it, that was like a miniaturized version of the magic transmission crystals that were outside the Alliance's great stadium. Long Houchen took out the crystal, placing it in his hand. A list scrolled onto the screen, each item accompanied with a small image. Long Houchen unconsciously placed his hand upon the first image, and a radiance was immediately shot out from the screen and toward the sky, coming to the clear sight of everyone present. That was a gorgeous mage gown, colored dark gold, and adorned with gold silk embroidery, with a sumptuous golden dragon design on it. The lower part of the gown was dark gold, while the upper part was the color of pure gold. The chest part's buckle was embedded with a fist-sized reddish gold gem. The whole gown let out an orange luster full of softness. Although that was just an image projection, it looked really lifelike, just as if the real thing was standing in front of their eyes. It was also slowly rotating, its glistening glow comparable with the glow of the epic tear, seemingly mesmerizing everyone in its display of pride. The elder who had handed them the magic projector explained, "This magic gown is called Glorious Holy Fire's Praise. Reaching the epic tier, and compatible with light and fire mags, it favors fire mags. Holy light is supplementing its fire's might, thus decreasing any fire mage's use of spiritual energy by a half, while increasing its might by 20% and infusing holy light properties into the mage's fire attacks. The gown has the attached ability Glorious Praise, usable once a day, and which requires it to be bathed under sunlight for 1 hour to be used. Glorious Praise will, upon use, ignite all the holy light spiritual energy within Glorious Holy Fire's Praise to instantly produce a powerful Glorious Saint Fire, lasting for 10 minutes, and getting attached to all subsequent spells." Seeing the dazzling Glorious Holy Fire's Praise, all bright glimmer of hope were in a daze, including Long Houchen as well. The elder continued, "In some sense, this Glorious Holy Fire's Praise is actually a piece of equipment that can be placed above equipment of epic tier. The gap between such epic and divine tool tiers is actually a half realm. Equipment of this grade is known as immortal grade, or sub-divine tools. However, equipment of this level are almost as rare as the divine tool grade, and thus hard to find. Glorious Holy Fire's Praise is made by getting sewn with a fire dragon's main bone, with a large variety of rare material added to that. These materials correspond to an item reaching a divine tool, but in the process of item making, because the material of light and fire was burning overly fiercely, it conflicted to a certain extent, thus finally not crossing this threshold." Long Houchen lightly nodded, while looking at Lin Shin on the other side, finding out that Lin Shin had his mouth wide opened, simply leaking with saliva. "That mine." Long Houchen couldn't help but laugh in spite of himself, but fortunately didn't ask him further, "Senior, how much for the Glorious Holy Fire's Praise?" The elder made a little pause before replying, "The Glorious Holy Fire's Praise is set at the marked price of 2,400,000 contribution points." Hearing this count, everyone couldn't help but gasp. One should know that contribution points value is almost 100-fold times gold's value. So 2,400,000 contribution points was an astronomical number, even for a titled grade demon hunt squad. Houchen had once asked his grandfather the value of epic tier equipment, and Long Qianying's response was that, generally, epic tier equipment's value would range between 50,000 and 100,000 contribution points. But he didn't think that it could cost such a large price. Over these years, the Demon Hunt Squad Bright Glimmer of Hope had accumulated an astronomical amount of contribution points, but based on Houchen's estimate, that was just about 10 million. And this time, it was for an equipment exchange on the scale of their whole team that they had come. If one item cost over 2 million contribution points, that was really somewhat of an unbearable cost. "Senior, how many contribution points has our team accumulated so far?" Long Houchen asked after a short time of stupor. He had actually already decided to purchase this magic gown. As the only mage in the team, Lin Shin's high explosive power and damage were his greatest assets. If he could gain a supportive spell such as Glorious Praise, this would be a great trump card when facing demonkind. When reaching the part about Bright Glimmer of Hope's contribution points, the elder's expression became increasingly more respectful. He spent all year in the topmost floor of the transaction center, and didn't know much about the Alliance's decision of becoming the Union. But he was extremely sensible to contribution points worth, and had encountered the terrifying contribution point counts of several titled grade Demon Hunt Squad, but this Demon Hunt Squad bright glimmer of hope was definitely the most terrifying so far. On the contribution point tile was recorded the ages of Long Houchen's crew, as well as their Demon Hunt Squad's accomplishments. When the elder had first seen their group, he believed they just looked so young, because of their high cultivation, but after looking at the contribution points tile's records, he realized that these were really such youngsters. Yet, those youngsters had such an incomparably shocking count of experiences and contributions. Esteemed Captain Long Houchen, your noble team has amassed a total count of 14,628,631 contribution points. Because of your identities as a titled grade Demon Hunt Squad, you will preferentially benefit from a 20% discount on any of our transaction center's goods. Over 14 million, that was really an incomparably shocking number. Especially for Zhong Fangfang, Yang Wenjiao, and Duan Yi, who confirmed their previous guesses from hearing it, and were greatly appreciative to Long Houchen. Added up, the contributions of the three of them would at most have reached 1 million or so. But compared to the average, that was still an enormous count. This instant, Sima Xian's voice came out from the entrance to the top floor. Aish, what a pretty robe. Boss, is this for me? Sima Xian could be seen bringing his little white flower toward the rest of the group. Feng Linga was clad in a white gown, giving her a look really befitting her nickname of Little White Flower. After bowing slightly to Long Houchen's group, her gaze landed on the glorious Holy Fire's praises shadow. On the other side, Lin Shin cast an angry look at Sima Xian. What's for you? This is clearly a piece of equipment for fire mags such as me. Sima Xian snorted. Save your talk. Just by the color you can tell that it has the light attribute. How could it be a thing for fire mags of your ilk? Your bro is a mage too, a priest. Lin Shin let out a sudden smile. All right, for you then. Sima Xian was startled. Since when have you been so easy to deal with? Lin Shin unhappily responded, even if I let you, can you even wear it? You're a magic user. There's only one such freak as you in the whole union. You're thinking of fighting in this gown you could possibly rip at any time with your build. As long as you're willing to bring it along in the battlefield, I'm letting you have it. However, they still got quite a lot of good things there. In the end, they had picked over 10 items of epic tier. But only 3 of them reached the immortal tier. Esteemed Captain Long Houchen. After discount, this equipment will require a total of 20.62 million contribution points. Your titled grade Demon Hunt Squad can borrow up to 5 million contribution points, but even when adding that to your original contribution count, that is still over 1 million short. How about you let go of one item? Let go. How could that be done? Every single piece of equipment had been chosen for its target, and would be very hard to trade off. Before letting Long Houchen have the time to respond, Feng Linga suddenly exclaimed, Elder son, the Demon Hunt Squad bright glimmer of hope is the leading party of the new union. Also, I am willing to vouch for them in my capacity as the owner of the Alliance's great auction house. Just lend them a bit more. Within 5 years, you are sure to be clear with them. The elder she called Elder Son replied, after shortly hesitating, I need to ask the higher-ups for instructions regarding this matter. No need to ask for instructions, just give them. A familiar voice suddenly rang out, and immediately, a familiar man came out from a room within the top floor. Seeing this person, Long Houchen couldn't help but stand in stupor. Grandpa Yang, how come you're here? The old man who had suddenly barged in was no one else but the strongest knight of the Night Temple, known by the title of Starry Sky Knight, and the name Yang Haoyu. Yang Haoyu smiled to him, Chairman, I am the one in charge of managing the Demon Hunt Squad's Transaction Center and Mission Pagoda. However, very few know about this matter. Even the heads of the 6 great temples are in the dark. Our Demon Hunt Squad's department has always been managed by a Demon Hunter President, and only Demon Hunt Squads reaching at least the Emperor grade are qualified to know about the Demon Hunter President. As the one managing all matters related to the Demon Hunt Squads, they can be called the greatest manager of all Demon Hunt Squads. And this generation's Demon Hunter President is me. If Chairman is interested, you could well take over to become the next Demon Hunter President in charge. Reaching this part, Yang Haoyu's smile became even more pronounced. Facing these youngsters before his eyes, he couldn't be any more satisfied. Especially the Night Temple's prospects, which could only be described as perfect. Now that Long Haochen's identity was already no longer the same, even he had to call him chairman when facing him. Long Haochen hurriedly shook his head. Grandpa Yang, I already have enough matters in my hand. I can't bear this position as Demon Hunter President. Moreover, you are still so young, you can very well keep this position for several hundred more years. Having you as our overseer is our Demon Hunter community's bliss. Yang Haoyu responded, enough. You can all pack up your things and go. Leave the rest to me, you have to return in the Night Temple now. Don't forget about the matters I have told you, I wish you success. Long Haochen placed his right fist on his chest, and performed a standard knight salute. Grandpa Yang, thank you for your support. We definitely won't disappoint you. Yang Haoyu showed an indifferent smile. I am not supporting you, but our future in resisting demonkind. Wang Yuanyuan had changed into an armor of epic tier, and got a plentiful store of spatial crystals. After the last time, she had utilized that gigantic divine soul shield, the spatial crystals were all used up. With this fix-up, the gigantic divine soul shield once again glowered with the light of the epic grade, or rather, it should be the immortal grade, that would be reached upon inserting 7 spatial crystals into the gigantic soul shield. Lin Xin's harvest was even greater. The robe glorious holy fire's praise was one thing, but he also gained a fire dragon crystal, an immortal grade staff drawing power from a fire dragon's crystal, to bring along. Sima Xian did not choose any equipment, however. Feng Linger had expressed that she had prepared a set fitting him the best from the Alliance's great auction house. Han Yu and Zhong Fangfang did not choose any equipment either, and both had looks of determination. Although they did not express it, everyone could guess their goal. Just like Long Haochen, they were aiming for the full set covering and defense called Divine Thrones. Not choosing any equipment from the Demon Hunt Squad's transaction center was just like burning their boats, so that they had no leeway left. In comparison, Yang Wenjiao and Duanyi chose equipment for their own after a lot of hesitation. Under Long Haochen's deliberate arrangements, Yang Wenjiao chose a pair of heavy swords of epic tier for his own, while Duanyi had a shield of epic tier plus a heavy sword of epic tier. The equipment on these two alone used up over 6 million contribution points. The individual equipment aside, Long Haochen also purchased some team gear and medicine. Among them were 2 pills for improving domain comprehension, to be used at the 9th step, which were for Lin Xin and Sima Xian. Bright Glimmer of Hope's original setup already had 4 domains out of 7, with Han Yu aiming next for a divine throne. As such, Haochen naturally showed some more consideration to Lin Xin and Sima Xian, who already reached the 9th step. Zhong Fangfang also reached the 9th step, but was in a similar situation as Han Yu, and took the initiative of giving up in the struggle for the medicines. The team gear was to Long Haochen's greatest liking. Called Domain of Instant Flash, it was a necklace, which would look very ordinary if not for its orange glint symbolic of the epic tier. It was a simple-looking silver necklace with a transparent crystal with the look of a snowflake, yet giving off a very unique feel. The name of Domain of Instant Flash was because this piece of equipment of epic tier had, in some sense, a domain ability attached. The user could pour mental force into it so that the light of instant flash would get attached onto him. Then, in times of battles, he would be able at any time to teleport one's ally to his side in a time of battle. Light of instant flash really reached the scope of a domain, in other words, even if the ally was trapped within a domain's enemy, the teleportation ability would still work. But Light of Instant Flash had some limitations as well, such as the need for acceptance of its owner for them to connect. With this team gear added onto Long Haochen's powerful mental force, he would be able to transfer his comrades at any time, reinforcing his position as core of the team. One could say that this gear change had caused a qualitative leap to all Bright Glimmer of Hope's strength. Afterwards would come the tests of approval of the Divine Throne in the Night Temple, as well as Yang Wenjiao and Duanyi's Pure Gold Foundation night tests. An unprecedentedly strong demon hunt squad was being born. In the evening, the group bade farewell to their relatives, and in bright morning they left Holy City alongside the rest of the contestants of this temple's great gathering from the Night Temple's side, proceeding for the Night Temple's dragon-resisting mountain pass. The demon god Emperor Feng Xiu grabbed his seat with strength. The throne he pinched let out cackling sounds, but didn't show any traces of damage. This throne was said to be made of the first demon god emperor's bones, becoming a symbol of the demon god emperor's might, with a high significance for demonkind. In front of the demon god emperor was seated a calm Arbao, his purplish-black hair draping over his shoulder. Compared to several years ago, his current appearance was far more steady. As a whole, he looked just like a sculpture, though his handsome face clearly became pale. Hearing the name of Long Haochen, his calm eyes suddenly sharpened, just like two bolts of lightning striking through the demon emperor palace. Even the demon god emperor slightly narrowed his eyes. In 5 years' time, Arbao's demeanor had changed totally. His character became far more introverted and very taciturn. But no one else besides the demon god emperor knew how much Arbao had paid in these 5 years. Even the one known as Berserk demon god, Ananda, was unable to compare with Arbao's hard work. Being the demon god emperor's son, in his body flowed the devil dragon's pure blood. Add to that his newly arisen persistence and assiduousness, and his cultivation had encountered an earth-shattering change. Standing in deference, the Commander Black Dragon's Imperial Guard Huang Shao was making the report. Yes, Your Majesty. According to our spies in the Temple Alliance, he not only didn't die, but furthermore led his demon hunt squad in participating in the Temple Alliance's temple's great gathering, and furthermore became champion. He showed an extremely great strength in the gathering, already mastering a domain of his own, Huang Shao deferentially reported. Arbao listened with all his attention, seemingly calm, but unaware both his hands had clenched into fists. The demon god emperor furrowed his eyebrows, declaring sternly, "I have personally killed Long Haochen. How could he resurrect? With his heart destroyed, even the strongest human priest in existence couldn't possibly bring him back to life. There's surely an issue with the information. Huang Shao, mobilize all our spies in human territory. Gain more information at any cost. Hurry." "Yes. Your Majesty, could that be a false trail launched by humans?" Huang Shao asked. "That's not impossible. Or else, could there be a mistake in that I killed Long Haochen personally? But why would humans resort to such a conduct? Could it be that they still haven't learnt enough from the lesson they had over 4 years ago? Royal Father, please let me make a trip to the human side. If Long Haochen is still alive, I will bring back his corpse." There was only one immense target of hatred in Arbao's heart, and that was Long Haochen, who had personally crushed his confidence, as well as causing him to lose his most beloved girl. He also created an obsession in him that his strength was insufficient, and everything was a lie. So he frantically trained in these years, for the sake of getting ready to take over the demon god emperor's position. Out of the question. There is no need to do so either. Long Haochen is certainly already dead. Huang Shao, invite the star demon god. I need to have a talk with him. Yes. Huang Shao's respectful response came swiftly. Arbao asked sternly, "Royal Father, I don't understand, why didn't you destroy his corpse also at that time, instead of letting his teammates go off with it?" He had always been confused regarding this point, not understanding the demon god emperor's acts. Right now, the demon god emperor had a somewhat unsightly complexion, as he let out a cold snort. "This matter has nothing to do with you. I have my own view, so there's naturally a goal behind whatever I do." Arbao didn't speak further, and lowered his head in silence. The demon god emperor asked, "Third brother, Huang Shao should have told you everything. News came from humankind about Long Haochen's revival. How do you view this matter?" Visago lost the smile on his face. "That's just a rumor. Don't forget, boss, you are the one who personally killed Long Haochen. Furthermore, after he died, I immediately went to predict our race's future. Although I only used the simplest prophecy technique, I only saw a radiant future for our race. The earlier threat is already thoroughly erased. Although I don't know why humankind would do such a thing, I can affirm that Long Haochen has already died at that time, bringing that Austin Griffin to death alongside him. Hearing Visago's confirmation, the demon god emperor relaxed for a bit, and nodded, then that's for the best. I'm just afraid about the case that humans would have had some extraordinary ways to bring him back to life. This time, Arbao suddenly blurted out, "Third uncle, if you were to once again utilize the great prophecy technique, would you be able to predict Long Houchen's condition?" The demon god emperor wrinkled his eyebrows. "Don't talk drivel, Arbao. Do you think great prophecy can be used at any time? It's not as if you don't know for how long your third uncle has been in a weak state after utilizing great prophecy. It's only recently that he has recovered." Visago hesitated for a bit. "Utilizing great prophecy technique one more time is not impossible, but my vital force could possibly come to an end as a result. Also, I cannot directly make a prediction on Long Houchen, but only on the future of our race." Although he did not directly reject it, that could only be considered a rejection. The demon god emperor waved his hands. "Third brother, don't listen to Arbao's drivel. Since you are certain that our race's fate had been altered at that time, there is no longer the need for any more prediction. Only, we have to investigate this matter, and find out what humans' end goal is." Arbao declared sternly, "Royal father, I don't know why, but I have the constant premonition that Long Houchen is really still alive." The demon god emperor's look became severe. "Enough. Don't be too opinionated. You are not your third uncle. How could you comprehend anything in premonitions?" Arbao's expression changed as he stopped arguing the matter. With great timing, Huang Shao declared, "Your Majesty, I shall immediately investigate the human's goal and the temple's great gatherings matters." "Yeah." The demon god emperor nodded, then expressed to the star demon god, "Then third brother, you can go back." "Yes." Visago respectfully accepted, and left with Huang Shao. The demon god emperor slowly stood, giving Arbao a glance. "We must remember that even if there are some misgivings in your heart, it doesn't mean that you must speak them out. You especially must respect the moon demon god and star demon god." Arbao stood and joined the demon god emperor's side. "Royal father, with your cultivation, even all the other demon gods added up are no match. Why is there a need to?" The demon god emperor snorted coldly. "You know nothing. I will naturally tell you everything when I let you succeed to the position of the demon god emperor. All you need to know is that for demonkind, every single demon god is an important being, especially the moon demon and star demon. As long as the three of us stand on the same side, we will have the strength to calmly face any crisis. All right, I shall go into seclusion from tomorrow onwards. The affairs of the Demon Emperor Palace shall be left to you. Oh, right, regarding the investigation about Yu Yi, has there been any news?" Arbao shook his head. "Not yet. She has already disappeared several years ago, and didn't leak a single trace. But I have found out that some troublemakers have been in gradual rise in our demon territory. Based on insider information, they seem to be a grouped organization, in the midst of saving power constantly. However, they are very tightly organized, and their roots are deep. I am still investigating." Feng Xiu let out an indifferent smile. "Just some agitated clowns. No need to fear. Don't pay too much attention to this matter. Your cultivation is the most major matter. Your royal father knows about your progress in the recent years. When I come out from this seclusion, I will give you more matters to handle. Your royal father promises you that when your cultivation will surpass the Moon Emperor, the position of the Demon God Emperor will be for you." Arbao's expression changed, but he immediately lowered his head. "You are in your spring right now, royal father. Our race still needs your lead." Feng Xiu calmly expressed, "No need to fake it in front of me. You are right now exactly like the past me. You may go then. Remember, in this period of seclusion, you must not bother me no matter what comes." Understood. That year, he had personally witnessed his father's use of the divine throne of doom and slaughter. Now that over 10 years had passed too, the time of their reunion had come, along with the time to gain a divine throne's approval. The 6 wings behind his back vanishing, Long Houchen was the first to land on the dragon-resisting mountain pass. Perhaps because of the dozen years spent reminiscing about his father, at the time of his arrival, he couldn't help but whistle to the sky for a long time. The other returning powerhouses of the Night Temple and members of the Demon Hunt Squad Bright Glimmer of Hope deliberately fell behind. The current Long Houchen was not only a decisive character for the Night Temple, but moreover the chairman of the Union. Even if young, he had already proved himself to these knights with force. A limpid hissing sound came up, it was peaceful, and gave off a feeling of being carefree. Long Houchen's 6 wings then vanished as he reached the dragon-resisting mountain pass city in a flash. Before their arrival, news of his return had arrived to the Night Temple since long ago, and right now, fully attired knights came out on the walls of the Night Temple. Facing Long Houchen's descent, they all performed the most standard salute to welcome their new Union chairman. A tall man stood in the midst of the entrance, handsome and resolute of face and broad-shouldered, as well as having an incomparably sharp look. When suddenly catching sight of that sudden golden figure, his look became all the more muzzy. Houchen. That golden figure coming from nowhere was thrown into his bosom in a flash, as the two hugged each other. Father. Long Houchen's voice was shivering, and had a great change even in its tonality. To any man, their father would be, in their youth, their idol. Moreover, what man was Long Houchen's father? He's the owner of the divine throne of doom and slaughter, the divine knight of adjudication and trial, Long Xingyu, of the Night Temple. A genuine outstanding talent of his generation, and an ultra-powerful retribution knight. His father had always been Long Houchen's pride. Deep in his heart, he had always been aiming and chasing after his father's tall shadow, which drove him forward. A great part of his efforts were aimed at getting his father to acknowledge himself. Even on this day after 10 years later, when encountering his father, that childhood admiration surged out, as this new union's chairman dripped with tears. Long Houchen's stature was no longer thinner than his father in the least. Father and son were both the same height, both prides of the Night Temple. All knights saluted them respectfully, as well as the far-apart Long Qianying. With 3 generations of the Long family being among the most talented of the Night Temple, this Long family could be considered the family with the most authority out of the Night Temple. Although they had never minded this point in the hearts of knights, especially young knights, their existences were unsurpassed, true idols. Feeling Long Houchen's surges of emotions, Long Xingyu, who was no longer capable of showing such pure feelings as his son, had a very complex expression in his eyes. His ordinarily incomparably steady hands shook lightly, as he continuously called out his son's name. Houchen, oh Houchen. Your father has let you down. I haven't protected you well. Father, don't say that. I am your son, and without your guidance, I wouldn't be my current self. I am already grown, and should take my turn to protect you and mother. Loosening the hug, father and son confronted each other, eyes filled with emotional colors. Long Xingyu took a deep breath, casting off his tears, as if suddenly making some resolve. He watched Long Houchen with a firm look and declared, Son, no matter what may have happened in the past, you are this Long Xingyu's son, my sole son. From today onwards, whoever wants to harm you will have to first tread over my corpse. His right fist energetically thumping his chest issued a bang sound, and Long Houchen no longer said any more. Right now, everyone from Bright Glimmer of Hope, as well as the Night Temple's powerhouses, were consecutively landing in town. Under Long Xingyu's lead, the dragon-resisting mountain pass grandiosely welcomed these knights' triumphant return. Although the final winners of the temple's great gathering were those from the Demon Hunt Squad Bright Glimmer of Hope, out of the 6 great temples, the greatest winner was undoubtedly the Night Temple. The Mage Temple's assault under Li Jingji's lead was in the end fruitless. Even if Long Houchen and his comrades had not arisen, the final champion would still be the deeply rooted Night Temple. After a majestic welcoming ceremony, Long Houchen and his father met Houchen's mother. The 3 members of his family were finally reunited, after over 10 years. Or rather, that should be a family of 4. Along with Long Houchen came another inextricable part of his life, the most beloved in his heart, Kia. 1. A filial relationship, or a father-son relationship. 2. This places both Houchen and Kia as being at least 21 to 22 years old. Part 1 end here.